Dear students, welcome again to the part 7, and in the part 7 we are discussing about the theories of the motivation. In the module 32, previous module, we have understood about very important concept or the theory given by Maslow, Abraham H. Maslow, about the need hierarchy theory. In the earlier session, we have learned that as per the theory given by Maslow, the overall needs of the employee are categorized into 5 human needs. That is physiological needs, your safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. We have tried to learn each level of the needs with some relevant examples. At the end, we have highlighted some of the critical factor which has been used by the other researcher in showing the limitation of the need hierarchy theory. Now, in the lecture 33, module 33, we will be discussing about another significant contribution in the field of theories of the motivation and the two-factor theory, which was given by Herzberg. Now, this particular module, learning from these factors along with what are the motivators and the demotivators, comparison, this will be very important, we will be comparing the Maslow's need hierarchy theory as well as the Herzberg model. And last one is the critical appraisal about the theory. Now, talking about the Herzberg theory, now Herzberg conducted an interview in the area of Pittsburgh, which is in United States, in the late 50s, 1950s, and the objective of this particular interview or the survey was to ask some questions from some accountant and some from engineers regarding what are the different factors which give happiness and unhappiness in the organization. Okay, and what are the outcomes we will be discussing. The major outcome that the Herzberg identified, that overall the job environment, job environment where the employees are working are acting as a point of motivation, and at the same time the work or the quality or the kind of task which has been given, sometimes if the tasks are not completed within the time frame or the quality of work has not been completed or the level of the activity is not as expected by the organization, it will ultimately lead towards the demotivating factor. So, let us try to understand in details regarding the different motivational and demotivational factor identified by Herzberg. Now, Herzberg identified the presence of maintenance or hygiene factors are important to sustain a satisfactory level of employee happiness. So, there should be a minimum motivational level, or we can call it as the hygiene factor, should be there to ensure the satisfaction or the happiness level of the employee. So, this we call it as the maintenance factors or the hygiene factor, or sometimes it is called as the dissatisfier. Now, these factors do not contribute towards the employee happiness. So, this is an important thing, I am repeating it again. These factors do not contribute to the employee happiness, but their absence will result in dissatisfaction. So, very first factor is those set of hygiene factor or those set of motivational or the maintenance factors which do not contribute towards the satisfaction level of the employee. But if those factors are absent, this will be a result in the dissatisfaction of the employee. Okay. So, these factors are termed as the maintenance factor, okay, hygiene factor or the dissatisfier. Alright. On the other hand, motivational factors will satisfy the employee and guide them to enhance the performances. Okay. So, motivational factors are something which guide and enhance the performances, but a decrease in this factor will not demotivate them. So, you can see these are two different spectrum. One factor is the maintenance factor, that there should be a minimum or the hygiene factors should be maintained by the organization, but these factors will not like motivate an employee. But if these factors are removed by the organization, this will lead towards the dissatisfaction. Now, second is your motivational factors. Motivational factors will satisfy the employee, okay, and guide them to enhance the performances. But if these factors are reduced, these will not demotivate them. Okay. So, I hope these two factors are very much clear with respect to the maintenance factors and the motivational factors. Now, motivation or the motivational seekers and the maintenance seekers, employee will be of two perspective. It is not like the employees are separated in terms of the maintenance factor or in terms of the your motivational factors. It will be based on the behavior of the employee, what they seek for. So, there will be some employee who are motivational seeker and there are some employee who are maintenance seeker. Motivational seeker motivated by the nature of the task and high tolerance for the poor level of environmental factors. Alright. So, they will be motivated. They will be motivated by what? In terms of the nature of the task that they are performing. Alright. But at the same time, high tolerance for the poor environmental factor will not demotivate them. Okay. Suppose nature of the task is like you have like assigned an employee towards like bigger responsibility, job enhancement. Okay. One is at the technical staff is there. Now, the technical staff is given some kind of additional responsibility with respect to some kind of decision in the organization. So, this will act as a motivational factor for the employee. But at the same time, the maintenance factor, you are not providing any support system in terms of infrastructure. Okay. So, the employees should be having a tolerance level for the poor environmental factor. Environmental factor means like your maintenance factors. Okay. We will be discussing what are those elements, do not worry. Now, second type of the employee will be maintenance seeker, motivated by the nature of his work environment and little interest on the quality of the work. Now, there will be some employee who will be more motivated in terms of the working environment, how they are having good relationship with their colleagues. But at the same time, if you give some kind of additional responsibility, it will act as a demotivating factor. So, I hope the point with respect to the motivational factors and your maintenance factors, it is very much clear. Okay, you go through this slide and read some suggested books like I have already mentioned, I will be mentioning. In deeply we will be trying to understand what are those factors, like what are the element of the maintenance factors and the hygiene factors or the motivating factors or the satisfier. Alright. Again for clear understanding I am like repeating, maintenance or the hygiene factors do not contribute towards the employer happiness. Okay. But absence of this will be like dissatisfy the employee, and motivational factors are like something employee guide them towards the performances, but decrease in this factor will not like demotivate the employee. Now, try to understand these factors. Very first one is company policies and administration. it is okay that within the organization there are some policies, guidelines, instructions, procedures, everything will be there. But can these factors act as a motivator? I don't think so. This will not be the factor which will drive the employee to achieve some higher performances. But if suppose you remove these factors, like there is no proper guidelines, there is no rules and regulation, instructions are not like clearly mentioned about how the task will be completed. Alright, so if there is absence of these factors, this will certainly demotivate the employee for the task performed. Okay. Other factor could be your technical supervision. It is okay, technical supervision should be there for the technical staff, but does not motivate the employee for the highest performances. But if you remove this factor, okay, what will happen? Employee will be like not be having any kind of getting the guidance towards any kind of technical problem that they are facing. So these factors will be removed and there will be some kind of demotivating element within the employee. Third will be interpersonal relationship. Like through interpersonal relationship, you are sharing your like whatever the things you have, the personal factor or the professional factors. But these factors like may be motivating, but not largely. But if you remove this factor, this will act as a biggest demotivating factor. Salary, job security, working condition, all these termed as a maintenance factor. So these factors should be at least maintained by the employee for the satisfaction or the happiness of the employee. But if you remove these factors, okay, it will be, your employee will be unhappy. Got it? Second will be your satisfier or your motivational factor. Achievement, recognition, advancement, opportunity for growth, responsibility, work itself. Alright. So these factors are there which like motivate the employee for higher performances, like achievement. Suppose you have given some kind of responsibility towards an employee. Okay, those responsibility will act as a like motivational thing to like perform and show their skills within the organization. But if you remove these factors, can it act as a dissatisfier? No. Okay, that's why we call it as a motivational factors. Like if the presence is there, the employee will be motivated, but if the absence is there, they will not be demotivated. Alright, so these are the two factors which were like identified by Herzberg, and in this slide we will be trying to understand like how these factors are like used to have the direction, like generally what we call the two different extremes. One will be your satisfaction, another will be not satisfaction. These are the two extremes, we know it. Okay, but two factors could be, according to Herzberg, dissatisfaction and not satisfaction. It does not mean that dissatisfaction is one extreme and another extreme will be your satisfaction. So hygiene factor will lead towards like employees are not so motivating towards the different policies, rules and regulations, or whatever the point we have discussed in this part, okay, salary and all. But at the same time, if these factors are absent, okay, it will lead towards the dissatisfaction of the employees. Got it? So my point is to explain that Herzberg came with this particular model which talks about different extremes. One extreme does not mean that one extreme will be positive, another extreme will be negative. Like talking about the happiness or the satisfaction level of the employee, what could be the two extremes? Employee could be happy or employee could not be happy. These are the two extremes. But as per this theory, you will see that dissatisfaction and not satisfaction. can we call it as not satisfaction as a satisfaction? No. Okay. So, hygiene factor will be, suppose any situation with respect to the technical supervision. If it is there, there is no point that employee will be motivated towards the work, but if it is not there, they will be demotivated. Okay, that is the point. Again, the motivating factor, one is the hygiene factor and second is your motivating factor. This is the hygiene factor and this is your motivating factor. It means employee will be no motivation and motivation, or no satisfaction or satisfaction. There will be two extremes. Suppose talking about this particular aspect, suppose opportunity for growth, we are taking one example as opportunity for growth. If the employees are given some kind of task, okay, and that particular task or the activities are directly linked towards their growth or some kind of promotion. So, do you think that it acts as a motivator? Definitely. But if the absence is there, can this particular aspect will demotivate the employee? No. Okay. So, satisfaction will be higher, motivation will be higher if any kind of your motivating factor are given. But at the same time, there will be no motivation if there is absence of these things. Okay. So, this is the point of difference between the maintenance and the your motivating factor. Now, moving beyond, once we have understood about the motivating factor or the hygiene factor, let us try to relate it with the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Now, what we have seen in the Maslow need hierarchy theory, one is your physiological need, safety and security need, social need, self-esteem needs and self-actualization needs. These are the 5 needs. Now, if you see it from this part, suppose this is part A and this is part B. Okay. Now, part A is basically, if you relate it, part A will be your hygiene factor, part B will be your motivating factor. Okay. Like the company policies, salary, working condition, interpersonal relationship, personal life, all these things will be contributing towards your safety and physiological need. Alright. If there is a presence of these things, it will not motivate the employee. These are the basic necessity that the employers should be providing. But if these things are absent, for example, salary, okay, company policy with respect to what are the guidelines, what are the instructions, okay, company procedures, methods, if this will be absent, there will be lack of direction towards the task. So, this will be acting as a demotivating factor. Okay. Now, talk about these two factors. Motivators. Okay. Now, motivator, compare it with the hierarchy need theory, it will be towards your social needs, esteem needs and the self actualization need, whereas hygiene factor is psychological needs and your safety needs. Now, advancement, job itself, responsibility, recognition, achievement. So, you will see that more of self belongingness or some kind of self respect activities are there in terms of the motivation. It is with respect to the job, it is with respect to the environment. Alright. So, self actualization, self esteem needs, social needs is with respect to the achievement, recognition, responsibility, job itself and the advancement. And you will be able to see these things once the employees are able to met out their basic needs and the safety and security needs. Okay. So, if we compare Maslow need hierarchy theory, with the Herzberg theory, we can like conclude that Herzberg theory is like developed from the Maslow need hierarchy theory, and it is an extension of the Maslow need hierarchy theory. Like all the hierarchical needs of the employees are clubbed together into two different factors, which Herzberg has given the name as motivational factor and the hygiene or the maintenance factors. Still, we try to understand the point of differences between these two theories. Okay. Very first one is the formulation. So, Maslow need hierarchy theory is based on the needs of the employee, whereas Herzberg theory is based on the rewards, okay, like your maintenance factor or the motivational factors, what are the output that you are getting. Okay. Second is order of arrangement. It is some kind of hierarchy is there. No such hierarchy is there in the Herzberg theory, as we have already seen it. Two factors we have discussed. Nature of the theory, it is descriptive, it is perspective. Descriptive in the sense that all the hierarchy has been described and we know it, what does it mean. Okay. Like physiological needs is with respect to the description of what are the basic necessities of an employee. If we talk about the self-actualization need, the employees who has like achieved everything in the life and few things that he or she always wanted to do in the life. That will be like with respect to, like we have taken the example of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Okay, like he is, apart from the cricketing achievement, he is now into the some kind of farming activity. So it is very descriptive, whereas it is perspective. It means it changes with the like perception of the employees. Okay, one will be more motivated with the like hygiene factor, and one will be more motivated towards your motivational factors or the satisfier. Essence of the theory: unsatisfied needs motivates individual and performances, whereas gratified needs regulates the behavior. Okay, so Maslow need hierarchy theory is totally dependent, and the assumption is based that the unmet needs of the employee will influence the behavior or drive the motivation, whereas the gratified needs will be dominating factor in the motivational behavior of the employee. Next will be motivators. Any need can be motivator if it is relatively unsatisfied. So, Maslow talked about the unsatisfied needs of the employee as a driving factor, whereas only higher order needs serve as a motivator in the assumption of the Herzberg. Last one is the applicability. Takes a general overview of the management, takes micro view and deals with the work environmental work oriented motivational problem of the professional workers. Okay. So, we have discussed the similarity of these two theories as well as the point of differences between these two theories. Okay. We discussed that the Maslow need hierarchy theory is a base for the Herzberg theory, and it is an extension part. In the last slide, we will be like briefly discussing about the criticism that Herzberg has faced upon the two factor theory. Very first one is, the theory is most applicable to the knowledge worker. Studies of manual workers are less supportive to the theory, therefore, theory is not universally applicable. Okay. Like these theory are more applicable, or the sample or the data has been collected from some professional workers. We have like in the discussed in the very initial, like Herzberg has taken the 200 samples of the worker who were the accountant and the engineers. Okay. And they are generally having more technical, or they are having knowledge about the working environment and the technical expertise they are having. Therefore, the manual workers are less supportive to this theory. It may be if you take the sample, another sample of supervisory level, then you can get different results. Alright. So, on this base, this theory has been criticized. Second one, Herzberg theory is criticized over the interview, and many people call it as a, like, the interview which has been conducted is a biased interview. Now, how? Like, it is with respect to the methodology part. Most up to date condition and the emotion were not captured. Like, suppose you are giving some kind of interview within the organizational surrounding, and someone from the external or the internal too is asking about what are the factors that satisfies them, what are the factors that dissatisfy them. It may be that based on your personal factors, you are not showing true responses because of some of the external factors, like it may be that the manager is getting the knowledge that these factors act as a demotivating factor, but you do not want to show them. So, there will be some kind of biasness there. So, many practitioners criticized Herzberg that these factors were not taken into consideration. True responses were not measured. Alright. Third one, the approach places excessive emphasis on the satisfaction rather than the degree of the performances. So, Herzberg two-factor theory is like talking about two factors, one is your satisfier and another is your dissatisfier. But suppose any employee is performing well, and the satisfaction is high, but at the same time if employee is not performing well, the employee satisfaction will be low or they will be unhappy. So, what is the important factor that leading towards their happiness and the unhappiness? It is their performance factors. Not all the time the environment or the motivational factor, like in terms of the advancement, in terms of the job itself. It is also important that how the employee are performing within the organization. These are ignored by the Herzberg. Okay. So, over these factors this theory is also criticized. And last one, there is no definite separation between the maintenance and the motivational factors. Although we try to like identify what are those factors in this particular slide, but sometimes these factors are overlapping. Like compare it with the Maslow's theory. Maslow clearly differentiated between the different needs. Although the needs has been like overlapping needs will be there, and it was also criticized, but there was a clarity between the different physiological needs up to the self-actualization need. But there is no certain point of differentiation between the two factors. One is your satisfier, another is your dissatisfier, and over this point it is also criticized. At the same time, the maintenance factors such as pay can serve as a significant motivator for Indian worker, but it may not be the maintenance factor for the rest of the world. So, the limitation talks about the like application of this theory. Because of the changed environmental or organizational structure like within the country or across the country, these theory cannot be blindly used by all the industry. There will be change, like one motivational factors could be the hygiene factor for another employers. Okay. So, with these points this theory has been highly criticized. So, in this module we talked about another theory of the motivation, and this theory was given by Herzberg, and we call it as a Herzberg two-factor theory. Two-factor theory are the motivators and the demotivators. Along with, we try to compare the Maslow's and the Herzberg theory. We briefly explained how these theories are related and how these theories are differentiated. And we concluded this particular module with the critical appraisal of the model. And I leave you with the suggested books that you can go through it. And in the upcoming module we will be understanding the MacGregor theory of X and Y. That is all for the module. Thank you so much.